Hello, my name is Hope from the platform of eSeniors.org. eSeniors is a non-for-profit organization that provides virtual companion for seniors from age 60 and above. Virtual companion is basically designed to provide emotional support for seniors who feel lonely and isolated from their communities. This is done remotely through the usage of video chat technology. So today, I want to specially welcome you all to today's book reading section. We have been reading a book from Alex Ageye. We have done several chapters. We are going to continue from where we stopped off. Listen as I read. Mama drove away from the airport. My car is an air con, she said, smiling. Joe sat quietly. He felt tired. The ride from the airport was smooth. The large number of soldiers and civilians in and outside the airport building surprised her. The Hajj camp area had its fair concentration of soldiers and policemen. She dared not inquire why. Those in the security system had their work to do, and they had their own way of doing their job. But that did not stop her from wondering. What would account for such heavy police and military presence at the camp? Could it be a coup? Could it be a coup or an attempt coup? A coup had been attempted in Nigeria not long before. Her mind was in turmoil, and as she sought for something frantically to still her mind, she turned to Joe for comfort. Joe was becoming ever so important to her. The company of he that she thought would be the solution was reassuring. My dear, she stammered. Joe left, sensing her difficulty. I have always been Okora, Joe said, but I like to be called Joe. Joe, she said as she laughed. Yes, Joe. Our city is respectable. You're going to find out soon. Joe howled. I have been here a couple of times, but it isn't the same as before. You don't know Ijeshi. It's special. You'll like it there. Mama drove along the wide expressway while Joe busied himself glancing through the previous day newspaper he had brought with him. He had been unable to read them while in the plane. He had slept through half the journey and sat through the remaining half bored and trying to make his mind blank and bidding a lasting farewell to the past and bidding a lasting farewell to the past. Excuse me. The bloody night, Joe suddenly swore. Oh, but he could not speak though. He opened his mouth wide. The page before him did havoc to his sense. He looked away from the paper, out through the window, breathing hard. He turned back to the paper on his lap and reread the offending sentence before he spoke again. What sense? What nonsense? Or isn't it a mistake? Damn, that unpardonable mistake. I put it to you. He called his name once and frowned. Then he called it a second time and read, leader of a gang of good smugglers. Mama, who had been paying close attention to Joe's changing mood, slowed down and stopped the car. She turned around and whisked the paper from him. She read briefly and returned the paper to her man. Oh, she said, I think we should wait until we get home to talk about this. I put it to Yumi business. We should talk about we should talk together. We should just talk and laugh. She laughed and returned to her driving as she started her car and eased her back onto the road. Hmm, there has been a terrible accident in the mines. Accident? Yes, and I think it was all a mistake. You should have waited, but they didn't listen to me. You needed the gems, but that could have waited. But here, he turned to and pointed to a picture and a caption on the back page. They call him a robber. He continued, referring to a statement in the evening newspaper he had brought with him. They call him, I put it to me. That's the one who robbed me some time ago. Mama said he made me believe I was buying a gold ring. Talio, that's his name, and he was a member of my team, he said. You mean that I put it to him was one of your men? I don't mean him. Mama, I'm referring to Talio. What does the paper say? I refer to I put it to me, who is described as an armed robber. Robbery and fraud weren't part of our job. The paper used the wrong name. It may be referring to a different person, he said. I was telling you about the accident at the mines. I know one of our men who was killed. The date and the place of the accident refer to her point to the same incident. That's why am puzzled by his report. The one who died, I know, was my friend Talio, who was shot dead by the mine guide. Don't get any ideas about me. I'm honest, perhaps that's why I'm alive. I'll prove my worth. It may be a case of mistaken identity, a mix-up, sort of. She was not in any way changing her mind about their marriage. She had made adequate preparation towards it already. I have told you we are going into gold mine, he said, seeking to reassure her. Yes, she replied. We have to work towards that. The Minerals Board in my country has been empowered by the cabinet to come up with guidelines for the new companies to be formed by private investors like us and set it coldly, like someone who finds me a ball. What did you expect me to do? Brighten and cheer up like good, real good. They both laughed, but Joe resumed in a more serious tone. You see, there was a shop adjacent to Bay's restaurant. What about it? Its name is one I've always liked. What's the name? Peace be unto you. And to you also. Her response sent them into a long laughter. We should not rest her. We should not rest here for one more second. Let's go as far as possible into the city. Then we will look for Ijeshi, said Neil. If the security personnel find us, we will be hurt. They changed their clothes. Neil wore a green shirt over the pair of trousers which had been presented to him by Maska, while Aaron wore a pair of brown trousers and a brown shirt. The uniform doesn't change the smell. We will still smell like shit, said Aaron. Alien smell, Neil joked. Aaron was quiet after they had been laughed briefly at Neil's joke about aliens. When he spoke, he was quite hesitant. Do you know it was good you didn't shoot the corporal? Why? The soldier would have hurted us like deer. But do you think he survived? The crowd wouldn't spare him at all. Imagine what followed the confusion and stamped. We couldn't control anybody. He would have been killed. I'm sure of that. Knew Moses Aaron echoed. They will look for us anyway. I mean the soldiers. There will be a clash at the airport. And I mean there will be a bloodbath. Neil knelt down and prayed to God. There will be. Thy will be done. When they resumed their journey, Aaron walked ahead of Neil. He stopped by a pack of wire smashed to wait for Neil, who was tottering far behind. Brighten up, Neil. Life has started again. A new round of fortune or misfortune. Neil laughed and hurried to join him. How would I have managed without you? He said. Simon, said Aaron, let's go. Neil was beginning to judge himself inferior in the contest for durability. He considered that contest as the last lap in their journey towards a change in life and decided that it was time he pulled himself into that final bit. But Aaron was stretching him still with many lives, stripes he labored on. They reached the suburb finally. They mixed with the milling crowd in the street. The lanes were quieter and less attractive to the immigration officials who were combing the length and breadth of the city. Neil limped to Aaron, who was leaning on an old abandoned vehicle and breathing hard and held onto him, exhausted too. I like you, Aaron, he said. Aaron tapped him on the back, his eyes closed, while one hand clutched the vehicle to keep him steady. Neil's breath came faster than before. I like you too, Aaron shot out in reply. "You hungry dog," Neil said, laughing. They rested for some time and then started looking around. They were hungry and had to have something to eat. They looked around for something they could buy from the stores, but the stores were equally crowded. "How are we going to get some food?" asked Aaron. I have the 2 naira that Keke gave me here. We can eat some bread." Neil went shopping for food. He bought 50 kobos worth of bread from a stall and returned to Aaron, who was waiting by the broken down vehicle, sat beside him and broke the bread into 2 halves and gave one half to Aaron. They were not in a hurry to talk to the people on the street. They had lost the enthusiasm to seek Ijeshin. They did not make any more inquiry. They did not make any more inquiry about Ijeshin that might invite the immigration officers. They looked for a closed. They looked for a place to hide and rest. The new blocks of flats taking shape offered an attractive hiding place. To get into one, they had to go around until they came to a construction site. The workers there were busy erecting the wall of a house. "Let's request help from these people," Aaron said, "if they offer us a job, even if temporary." "Frankly, I'm too scared to want to do anything like that. What else can you a goat fear after it is dead? Does a dead goat fear the knife? We are already dead men. What do you say?" "And what do you want to do?" Neil asked. "We should be able to do something. It's a matter of just asking for a job." "Like what?" asked Neil. "I've never worked in the construction industry." But they had to give the thing a try. Aaron led the way to the working site. When they got to the first worker on the site, they stood sheepishly, looking about. It was the worker who was carrying mortar. Excuse me, who was carrying mortar, who asked them if they might be of help to them. When they told him that they would be grateful if they got work to do, he asked them what they were looking for precisely. "We can do many things carrying a missing mortar. Let's see. I can even manage plastering, I think, better than many of the workers there." "May we see the foreman, please?" said Aaron, controlling the situation. Led by the construction workers, they took groggy and stressful steps towards the foreman. The old foreman, wearing a blue cap, stopped. They approached. Aaron spoke first. He did not mince words. "We work hard," he blurted. "You mean work?" The foreman looked at them and laughed. "Work." He thrust his arms forward, his whole body shook with the act. He laughed and laughed. "You mean you want work just like that?" "Yes," they replied in unison. "What can the 2 of you do?" "Anything. Anything at all. Plastering, carrying a mixture mortar." "Well, let's see what you can do," the foreman said, throwing a towel to Aaron. Aaron scooped some mortar with the towel and examined it. After plastering the walls for a while and laying a block, he made a note in a book he had taken from his bag. tucked the book away finally in his bag, and set to again doing the job in hand. He laid more blocks, working like an expert, but he had difficulty lifting the blocks. The day passed by gradually. At 6 o'clock, they left off. A new problem confronted them, and they discussed it as they walked through the work site. Where do we stay for the night? Neil asked. They stopped by the roadside and waited for the fast traffic to cease. To ease, they walked across the streets and entered the bush on the other side. They needed a place to hide, to be able to decide on what to do. Neil despaired. They were in for a long, agonizing night, but things could have been worse for them if it were day and they did not have any work to do. To hide, they needed cover, so they preferred the darkness, which shattered them. No one saw them, and while the night lasted, they felt safe. They could not push anything least to all the night, and had to wait for the night and allow it to run its full course. Neil wished that the night would stay on longer or last forever. Whether their new job would last or even sustain them, they did not know. The fear of the immigration officers haunted them. It would take only one bushy body to whisper their location to any security officer, which was not uncommon, and they would be in all manner of trouble again. They were weak from the exaction and exhaustion of travel and ill treatment. If they were to go through another round of humiliating persecution and strain, they would obviously be dead and get nowhere near their goal of reaching Egyptian. Difficult questions were hard to deal with, yet difficult questions flooded their minds. They were not comfortable patterns. They had run out of options, and the night was their fortress. They desired matters to stay that way. They managed their inner tension and stayed calm, keeping their curiosity at bay, so that it was not even their desire to ask about the subject they had come to, not at the moment. Wandering in and exploring the bush where they were temporarily ensconced was to them not safe. It was a luxury that they could not afford and which could prove dangerous. They had not the slightest due to what they wanted to do. When they started from the Hajar camp, their aim was clear and unaccessible. They had focused when they set out. Neil sat there no more the aggrieved person that he had felt he was. He felt rather haunted. He was holding on to the night and was not prepared to let it slip by. Temporarily, it seemed the night would stay as they sat through it, defying sleep. In a controlled self-diagnosis, Aaron asked, "Why don't we look at the signpost for dust? Names, position. It will tell us where we have come to." Neil said nothing. Night begins the descent of day. It was not a tradition and could manipulate. The hours struck ceaselessly and followed its own logic, unchallenged and unmanipulated by anyone. They decided to delay sleep for as long as they could, not so much to destroy time as to manage it essentially. But theirs was an exercise in futility. Sleeping does not hasten time, it finds it. So They had they had great difficulty fighting to stay awake. They would need a place to wash, clean up, and test. A new agenda was needed. Neil had his moments to pray, kneeling and half sleeping. While they kept awake, they reasoned they could steal time. If they slept, they could suddenly die. It was more likely they would die from thirst than from hunger. It was ready to listen to Aaron. He had little to say. It was his belief also that more talking took away more energy, and sleep would bring death closer and faster like a thief. However, he could not sit without talking or sleeping, could he? I saw the Susu man die hanging on the tree, he said. Let's worry about us. We have to think fast. Aaron responded, how are we to survive in Nigeria without any friends, relative, or job? Thank you so much for listening, and this is where we're going to be ending today's book reading section. Till we meet again in the next one. Thanks and bye bye.